Hello everybody and welcome. We are live. It is Wednesday and it is Benivo Bites and we've got an amazing show. Hi there to Susan from Connecticut. We've got people coming in from all over the world, which is just so exciting. Today, of course, we are talking about Benivo Bites. It's the world's first mobility tech show, and you know how it works, everybody. Right in the box, right in the comments box on LinkedIn. Join the conversation. Let us know where you are, what you're doing, a bit about, as we get into the topic, any questions you've got, feel free to ask the questions. We'll do our best to answer the questions. Join and let us know, as I said, who's out there so we can join in the conversation with you. We've got an awesome show for you today. We're going to be talking about who we got. We've got Drew Phillips coming in from the San Francisco Bay Area. We've got Alicia, Scott Weirs coming in. We've got people coming in. We've got Stephanie Akers from Chicago, from Mary from Estonia. Shout out to Estonia. People coming in from all over the world, which is just, as I said, incredibly exciting for us. Today, we're going to be talking about a really big subject. We're going to be talking about, well, we called it relocating your CEO, but I suppose in essence, we're talking about VIPs. How to deal with those most important people in your organization for whatever reason they might be important, the ones that you really need, the concierge service, the white glove service. So we're going to be talking about how you relocate those and how you use technology to support the move and mixing, if you like, high tech and high touch, how you put those two together. So that's today's show. And then next week, we've got The View from the Top is back. And I'm delighted to say that we've got an amazing program for you. We've got managing a mega program for you next week. And I'm delighted to say we've got some people from Siemens coming along, the huge German mega multinational. And get this, Siemens, in terms of the number of moves they do, and if you take a normal year, a pre-COVID year, we're talking about 300,000 moves a year. It's got to be one of the largest programs, if not the largest program in the world. And I'm so honored and delighted that we'll have the team from Siemens on, and they'll be talking about how they manage a program of that size. And they have, I think, over 300 in-house global mobility professionals running that program. So a fascinating session for you next week. Do make sure you put that in your diary. And then what else have we got? Well, as you know, you can get your CPE codes. If you're interested in codes from SHRM or HRCI, these are the codes, and I'll just leave them at the bottom there. And many thanks to our friends at Rocket Mortgage who are getting the codes for us from HRCI and for SHRM. So that's a little bit about what we've got coming up. But as ever, we also have a little bit of breaking news for you. So what we're going to do now is just run a short video and tell you what has been happening in the wonderful world of global mobility over the last 7 days. So congratulations to everybody who has moved job in the last week or has been promoted. A couple of special call out, shout outs. One to Cara Butler, who I'm delighted to say is joining or has joined Benivo. So many thanks to Cara for joining us. And also a big shout out to Vialto Partners. We just gave you a little mention there, but my LinkedIn stream, and I'm sure yours, has just been full of people announcing they're starting new jobs. Over 6,000 people have started a new job this week. We couldn't list you all, but congratulations to every single one of you on your new job, and we wish Vialto Partners every success for the future, and as indeed we wish everybody every success for the future. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to our weekly immigration update, and as ever, I'm delighted to say that we have Julia Onslow-Cole in our green room, and she's going to come on stage now to tell us a little bit about what's been going on in the world of immigration over the last 7 days.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, Julia, where are you today?
I'm back in the UK. I've just come back from Dubai.
Okay. And what are you going to be talking to us about today?
I'm going to give a US immigration update because we haven't had one for a while.
I was going to say, we haven't talked about the US. We go around the world and sometimes we forget about the US, which obviously is, one of the, if not the biggest market out there. So what's been going on in immigration in the US?
So I just wanted to give a big shout out to Bo Cooper, who heads our Washington office, because he's really been very helpful in just keeping me up to date. But basically, what I'm going to be talking about is just two areas. One is what legislative changes there are or there haven't been, and then policy changes. And really, when we last discussed this, and it was actually, I think, 3 or 4 months ago, or 2 or 3 months ago, we were talking about, there was great hopes that there might be some immigration changes that would be in the budget reconciliation process or the Build Back Better Act. And we talked about how these are enormous acts and there were some really good immigration proposals in them, but both of them failed to pass. And so the administration is really refocusing its efforts on passing much more narrow acts where they've actually got a little bit of immigration points in them, and then policy changes. There's no significant prospect of any big legislative change, and that's because the political divide is increasing. Neither party in Congress is prepared to work with the other for change. And then we've got the midterm elections coming up in the fall, and then obviously in 2 years where we've got the next big election. So even though there is no prospect of any big legislative change, it's really important to keep a watch on the debate and, see what's happening. But the debate, and we've always said this about Biden's government, is really focused away from highly skilled, and it's much more about undocumented foreign nationals, those holding DACA statuses. But the highly skilled immigration is really outdated, and the whole system really needs something to sort of happen. So what we're seeing is that there are acts that are being passed, and there's a tiny bit of immigration in them, and that's how we are seeing legislative changes. So one example is the America Competes Act, and that passed the Senate on the 28th of March, and that's got some really good provisions for STEM careers. And we've really seen how the US are really focusing on people with STEM qualifications. And then there's an EAGLE Act where they've slipped in some immigration provisions, which are really good, which would eliminate per country caps for employment-based visas and increase caps on family. And there's another act called the Jumpstart Act. And again, that's about recapturing unused green cards. So there is another act that's actually out there, which is not so good, and that's been brought by senators who do not feel that immigration is a good thing for the US economy. in particular Senators Grassley and Durbin. And this is called the H-1B and L-1 Visa Reform Act 2022, which was introduced on
a catchy title, yeah.
Yeah, a catchy title. All of them are catchy titles. But this would be extremely bad news if this came through. It would actually eliminate the H-1B lottery, give preference to American university graduates. It would bar anyone that has more than 50 people in their organization to have more than half on H-1B visas. And it would set a wage floor for L-1 visa holders and tighten eligibility criteria. There is a big spending bill coming up. These are so gigantic, and I think there's so many provisions that people sort of fall asleep during the passage of them. And sometimes you can squeeze in things, and they actually managed to squeeze in a $200 million extra fund for the USCIS. So that's good. So moving away from legislation. So legislation is all about just keeping a watch on what's happening, seeing these little quick wins in these different acts. But looking at policy, we're seeing, as I said at the outset, a lot of really good policies for STEM graduates. There's a F1 STEM OPT expansion, an O1A eligibility for STEM graduates, and a J1 expansion. And what we found out is that there is these additional policies are coming directly from the White House. And the White House has this team called the Office of Science and Technology Policy, OSP. And they really believe that it's very good for the US economy to have more people with stem cells. And they think that it's really important for national security. So that's a really positive thing. And then I think there is a great recognition now in USCIS that all of those delays and backlogs are just unacceptable. And you will all recall we had this terrible, terrible situation where people were applying for H-1B extensions. And because of the timing, inevitably, they were going to run out of permission to work. And it was causing people huge amount of stress. And so I think USCIS have recognized this. They're really trying hard. They're going to put some different provisions, policy provisions in. They're increasing premium processing, which is actually very expensive, but that's something. And also there is more cash for the organization. So all of these are very important, and they've really sort of heard the message. And I'm just going to end on two very tiny points. So one is the H-1B cap. There were 500,000 more applications than last year. It's likely that the selection rate was 26%. It's likely that the USCIS will select quite a high number because last year a number of those selected weren't used. And then very finally, there is some really good proposals and relief for Ukrainian workers. And there has been some sort of hard lessons learned about the support that the US government have given for the Afghanistan scheme. And those have seemed to be rectified for Ukraine. So that's a positive note to end on.
Okay, so a huge amount going on US immigration. So thank you so much for that update, Julia. I know you'll be back again with us next week.
Yeah.
In the meanwhile, I asked the audience to let's give it up to Julia Onslow-Cole. Please hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button. We're going to say goodbye to you now, Julia, and we've got a special guest that we're going to be bringing on in a moment. So everybody hit those buttons as we say goodbye to Julia Onslow-Cole. So, as I said, we do have a special guest that we're going to bring on today. And this is somebody that those of you who've watched this show for the couple of years we've been going will remember because let's bring her on. It's Michelle Durkin.
Hey, Brian. How are you? Yeah. It's great to be back.
It's great to have you because I said we used to co-present this show back in the day. And then you've been doing other things. I know you've been very actively involved with Benivo, leading our Change Makers initiative and helping with our strategy council. And you've been a wonderful person to work with. But in terms of breaking news, we didn't put it in the video earlier, but we know sadly that you are leaving. So this is Michelle Durkin's farewell party, and you're going off to pastures new.
I am. It has been an absolute pleasure and joy to work alongside you and Nitsan and Matt and the entire team. It has been an incredible couple of years. But I am moving on to my next adventure, which will be announced in just a couple of weeks. So thank you for everything. It's really been a blast.
And look at Alexis there. We've missed you, Michelle, she says.
Oh.
So all the love is coming out for you, Michelle. But Michelle, you're staying in the industry. You're going somewhere. I know you gave me a little bit of a heads up as where it is, but I know it's embargoed, so I will not say live on air. But they are very lucky to have you, and we wish you all the best. And it'll be announced in a couple of weeks. But meanwhile, you've spearheaded our Changemaker initiative, and we've got one of our Changemakers backstage. So perhaps let's run the video and let's bring on our Changemaker for this week. Hey, well, look, we've got Manon here. Look, this is your last shout, Michelle. I'm going to put my feet up. I'm going to relax. I'm leaning back. Okay, it's your show, Michelle. Take over.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Thanks, Brian. Hi, Manon. Great to have you on the show. It is great to welcome you on as a Changemaker this week. I think maybe we should start off by having you introduce maybe yourself, what you do, and tell us about Behavivox, because I'm guessing a lot of people out there don't know what the company does.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Brian. I'm super happy to be here, and I'm a big fan of Benivo and of this show. So a tiny little bit about me. I'm head of global mobility and community at Behavivox, and joined them about a year and a half ago. And prior to that, I owned my own destination service provider in Montreal called Relocating. So a little bit about Behavivox. Behavivox provides a suite of AI-powered security products that help compliance and HR and security teams protect their company from bad actors. So we're an AI technology company. And we're a small but mighty team.
Yeah, you shared with us the number of international assignees / relocations you have is astounding. Tell us about the population.
Yes, so at Behavivox, we're approximately 250 employees in Montreal, London, New York, Singapore, Tokyo. And out of our 250 people, there are 40%, 100 of our people are relocatees. So for a small organization, we have 40% of our workforce who has been or is in the process of being relocated.
That's absolutely amazing. I mean, well, we wondered, are there any other companies out there with that kind of statistics? And I'm going to guess the answer is no. But if anybody knows of any, please let us know, because that is just tremendous. So, and how did you get into global mobility at the outset?
Oh, that's fun. That's a fun question. How I started, in my younger career, I was responsible for career counseling service at the Women's Y. So some people know the organization called the YWCA. Yeah. And it happened a few times where one particular story I want to tell quickly is that a relocated woman from Ireland came in with 3 little children, 3, 5, and 7 years old, and had been relocated about a month previously to Montreal. And she came to our organization and said, I need help. if I don't get help, I am taking my children and I'm going back to Ireland. So at that point, the light bulb went off for me. It had nothing to do with career counseling. And I said, who is taking care of these expatriate spouses? This person had been living in the countryside, and they had put 3 children in a tower, 16th floor tower in downtown Montreal. And the family was basically in crisis. So that was the initiative, I think the light bulb moment for me that said, I want to do something about this.
That's great.
And that's how my adventure started in the world of global mobility.
That's a good story. So what made you decide to become a Benivo changemaker?
Well, a few things. When I joined Behavox, there are 2 things that I did. Having experience in a DSP and having tried to create the type of product Benivo created, I had incredible sensitivity of knowledge of how important having a product like Benivo is to global mobility. Mm-hmm. So there's 2 things that I did when I started at Behavox. I went and got an extraordinary person who's probably watching the show today, whose name is Annabelle Honor-Lisi, to come in and take care of our day-to-day global mobility. And second thing is I called Nitsan. So that's how I got involved with changemakers.
That's fabulous. Well, great. And can you tell us a little bit about the charity you are I guess working for, if you will, and why you chose it?
Yes. So I'd like to tell everybody about just a few minutes about the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. This charity for me is a beautiful charity. In my own family, a quick personal story is my mother at the age of 50 was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and the complications of the brain tumor left her 85% blind. And my mother was head of a union. So you can imagine what blindness, loss of vision meant to someone who was running a union in Montreal. So she thought her life was over, basically, and with the help of the CNIB, it changed her life forever. She was able to get help, assistance, support, and she now travels the world with a backpack and a cane, and she has a full and complete life. And the other thing I wanted people to know about this charity is people love guide dogs. People have a natural affection for them. What a lot of people don't know is it costs about $100,000 to train one guide dog. And so these charities, whether there are many of them in the United States and in Canada, need our support to help people who are in need of a guide dog. So that's why I love them. And I hope we support them.
It sounds like a wonderful organization, and thank you for your contributions to Benivo, and I'm sure the organization is thrilled to have your support. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Manon, and thank you, Michelle, for guest hosting this segment today. We're now going to say goodbye to you, Manon, but keep up the good work with Behavox. Keep up the good work, especially with your charity. And we wish you and your family, and especially your mother, all the very best.
Thank you so much.
Say goodbye.
Thank you,
and everybody, you know how it works. I've told you 100 times, if not 1,000 times. Hit the heart, hit the like, hit the applause, and let's see the screen light up as we say goodbye to Manon. And also, I'm going to bring onto stage now our CEO, Nitsan Udan, as we move into the next segment. So Nitsan, I know you wanted to say a few words.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, an incredible story by Manon. Was great to hear that. But what I wanted to get the opportunities on behalf of the entire Benivo team to say thank you to Michelle for the journey we had in the last 2 years. It's been phenomenal, right? We've spent so many hours on calls, and we only got to meet in person. I think first time was once a month ago, right? Yeah. But during that journey, I think, we've learned so much as a company from your experience, from your knowledge in the industry, teaching us how it works in-house, what doesn't work, how technology can help improve that, as well as then taking it to the next level in how those policies work and what should a policy, and working with our clients on so many benchmark reports and really, you've made such a big impact on my personal knowledge in mobility, but on all of us in Benivo, and just wanted to say this opportunity to say a big thank you for that.
So much. It really has been just such a great experience for me, and this platform has been amazing, and everybody and everything that I've learned. So thank you. And I feel like this is not goodbye. I feel like this is just a see you later. And unfortunately, you came to New York and I left New Jersey, and I'm in Florida. So I'll catch you next time around. So thank you for everything, both of you. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor.
It's been a pleasure working with you, with Michelle. And actually, just you made me think then, Nitsan, you're in New York, of course, because you're in New York for the FEM event this week, isn't it? Is it tomorrow?
Yes, starting tomorrow. Just landed this morning from Seattle, and here we are here.
So if anybody's attending, do make sure they stop by the Benivo booth and say hello. So we're going to say goodbye to you, not for the last time, Michelle, but we are going to say goodbye to you now, and we're going to bring onto stage our other guests as we're going to move into the main segment of the show. So let's run that video and we'll move into the next stage of the show. And who have we got? Well, we got Nitsan, who's there and looking sharp with his brand new camera that he's bought this week. But we've also got Eric Halverson and Taly Goren, who are going to be talking as we're talking through how you relocate your VIPs, your CO, and you've both got really relevant personal experience. Let's start with you, Taly. I mean, you're normally backstage doing the producing and you have your segment, but you are a bit of a serial expat yourself, and you've also worked with some of the RMCs. So tell us a bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. I've been moving around the world for the last 25 years. So in the US, in Australia, in Asia, in Israel. And during that time, I was working with Sirva Hong Kong, which is we're going to bring a lot of stories from there today, and also with an RMC in Israel, ocean relocation. So yeah, I hope I can share some of these interesting stories with you today.
Yeah. And Eric, you're one of the people who've been in the industry almost about as long as I have.
Yeah, we started a while ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
And both of us in the tax. Yeah, both of us coming out of the tax world. That was my introduction. I was doing international corporate taxation when we discovered that a lot of our clients were having executive international move issues. And it was at that time my senior partner came, and because I was a CPA and I was working in a world of attorneys, I actually knew how to do tax returns. So I was voluntold to start working with these international executives to straighten out their problems. And that was my introduction. And then ultimately, I found my way out of the tax world and over to eBay, and finished up 16 years with eBay, building the program and watching it grow. And nowhere near the 100,000 moves of Siemens. I'm looking forward to that.
300,000, not 300,000.
I can't, my mind kind of explodes when I think about that. So I look forward to that show, but that's how I got involved.
And of course, Eric, you've almost grown up in Silicon Valley, haven't you? So you're probably as old as the Silicon itself.
That's it. My seat's been here in the San Francisco Bay Area, California. So that's Silicon Valley's been, my bread and butter.
Okay.
So, and it's been quite a ride, watching, from the tech bubble in the early 2000s, actually in the 90s when, everything exploded global, right? It was like the world is no longer flat. I think Friedman wrote the book, and everything went international. We started the International Center of Excellence, and everything was suddenly international taxation. And then the tech bubble that burst, and then the rise of Silicon Valley and the big tech. So it's been quite a ride.
Okay, well, I want to move the conversation on to talk about tech and how it applies to the very senior level people in the organization, because I actually posted about this in LinkedIn, but one of the things that I've seen, I think there's a bit of a myth out there, and the myth is that you have tech to deal and self-serve tech to deal with the junior employees, but somehow the senior employees need a white glove traditional concierge service. And that somehow it's out there as a sort of an or discussion that, one group gets the tech and the other group gets the concierge, whereas actually what it should be, and what I know what we'll be showing you today, has developed, is it's an and discussion that the senior people get the technology and the white glove service. So it's the technology is there to support the white glove as opposed to being an alternative. But Nitsan, I know this has been a passion of yours for a while. So why don't you tell us about where this came from as a concept, developing a VIP tech solution, and tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, when we started our journey in the mobility industry 8 years ago with Google, who was our first client, the immediate need we served was the early career employees, right? The interns, those that are in the beginning of their career, providing the pay later solution that give them that interest-free cash advance. And we still do that. But what happened over the year is that we kept building the technology and adding more capabilities to provide a better experience to the employees. And based on that, we've got interest from more senior people who said, oh, why do I don't get that? I also want a platform. So we started to see a place where if 8 years ago, right, you would put that, oh, Benivo is kind of a layer that will be below the RMC. Now, most companies put us as a layer on top and took us all the way through the tools we built for Global Mobility Manager to be the one platform where they manage the data. And I think that the breakthrough for us, the reason we started to support those moves of those executives was not because of pay later, right? These executives don't need access for a few $1,000s on interest-free rates.
No.
But what changed that experience is the tools that it opened to the mobility managers to be a lot more in control of the process, to be able to be proactive rather than reactive, and to have visibility to things they didn't have before. But also to the relocating employees, to give them the choice, the ability to choose whether I want some things to do myself and some handholding. And we're going to look at the examples today because we are not just talking here hypothetical. These are real cases. We've relocated this year the first CEO of a public company using Benivo. And we have a lot of companies that are now using Benivo for all their moves. And that's kind of the perception we want to make sure we send across on this show. Benivo is the solution to all the moves. And what happens with the handholding? I'm sure that's the question of, people in the industry will have in their mind. The model we deliver on the handholding is with an integrated RMC. What does I mean by an integrated RMC? It's a relocation company who provide the handholding support, who provide the project management, who provide the single point of contact, but is using the Benivo tools. They're using the Benivo technology that provides the visibility of the data, that ensure the consistency of the experience, and allow the employee, the executive, to choose on everything, whether they want just someone to manage everything for me, or if they want to be proactive, which sometimes happen, and they do want to get some things done, right? So the idea is, how do you create a great experience? Is a personalized experience, is letting each person choose how often they want to be engaged, when they want to be engaged, and what do they want to do.
And we are correct me if I'm wrong, but we are RMC neutral here. So any RMC that wants to work with the platform, we're more than happy to work with them, and ultimately it's for the client to decide which RMC they want to work with. And I know we work with a number, but I mean, is this a call out? Are there RMCs out there you'd like to work with?
Absolutely, and we'll be happy to work with anyone in the industry. The way corporates work with us is they contract with Benivo, and then through Benivo, they manage all their vendors. And there are many benefits for that, and we've covered that in past show, and we'll cover that more in future shows. But that's also how it works with the RMC support there, with the integrated RMC model. They work under the Benivo contract, and the corporate can choose whoever they want. We have those who we worked with before, but we're also happy, of course, to work with new ones. So definitely a call out here for any relocation company who wants to work with us on this model. We will be delighted. Okay,
so before we get into a bit of a demo, I mean, let's just start by defining our terms and understanding. I mean, Taly, from your perspective, you know, obviously you've worked in an RMC and you've been the other end as someone who's been moved. What is a VIP? I mean, who is a VIP, and what is VI about the P? What is so special about a VIP? And maybe give us some stories or anecdotes as to things.
Yeah. I think VIP is really, it's a matter of definition. It's changing from one company to another. There are no set rules, but usually it would be the one who can, who needs special attention for different reasons. And every company is going to define it a bit differently. From the way I see it, a VIP is someone who's very busy during the week. And if I'm looking at it from the perspective of the RMC, when I get to the call, to the preparation call, and I give all the information, he's only half-eared with me. He has a lot of experience. He probably has been, it could be he or she, of course, but they've probably been on previous relocations, so they know most of the details. They only half listen to me. And by the time I present all the benefits and I send the summarizing emails, usually they're already busy with other tasks that they have. It's not until the weekend that they would actually get to the details, and that's when I'm not on anymore. So to me, a VIP would need, he needs the proactive management. So he'd need to have all the details, but in a flexible way. He would need me to hold his hand the whole time, but he would also need the opportunity to control his movement, to be able to always see the details. So you wanted a story, so I can share with you a VIP that I was moving, and just like in my story before, he wasn't really listening to what I was saying. He remembered that I said something about shipping, and over the weekend, the questions started to be raised. Usually they would come from the spouse or from the kids. Are we going to move my bed? Are we going to move my hamster? Are we going to move my dog? And all these questions now have to wait until Monday. So when I come back to the office on Monday, I have a pile of emails, and sometimes it's already getting to almost escalations. And I think the platform in that way would give a lot of opportunity for this for the VIP to actually look at things for himself.
Well, we'll get onto the platform in a moment. But Eric, we were talking in the green room earlier, and you had a very interesting, I thought, very succinct definition of a VIP. Maybe going back to your eBay days, but I don't know if you could share that with the audience. What your definition of a VIP?
Yeah, I've got a very simple definition. First of all, a VIP is the one who I say is a VIP, and a VIP is the one that you can get fired for. Your VIP is the one that has such high visibility within the organization that upper management will come in and restructure you, your organization, and your vendors if they don't like what's going on. Those are the ones where...
Yeah. So the secret to people in the audience out there, I'm sure you'll know this, is even if somebody isn't designated a VIP, designate them a VIP if you think that if anything goes wrong, it could be career threatening for you.
That's right. I had tons of people who thought they were VIPs who weren't. But the ones that were absolutely were. And those are the ones that you had to get it right.
Absolutely. Okay, so Nitsan, do you want to then start talking about the solution? And I don't know if there's something you want to show at this point. from an employee experience. And if there's questions, then do, out in the audience, then do shove those questions through.
Absolutely. So let's look at a few points, right? So we are familiar by now by the platform for the employee. We are now going to look at some of those benefits for that VIP on the platform. One of the things that is important is the areas of actions where we can send to them notifications at the right time in case they need to do something. We can also turn it off. And they can also control and decide the frequency of those notifications. So that is one capability to make sure the right information is shared at the right time, because we know they are busy people. We don't want to overload them with all the information. We just want to give the actions when they are most relevant. And on the benefit sections, as I said before, the key for good delivery is expectation management and personalization. So each person can choose how they want to do. I can choose here that I just want to schedule a session with my relocation consultant, and already I can see their live availability. I can check on my calendar. I don't need to go back and forth and try to organize it. I just click, confirm, and I schedule a call. And that's going to be a call with the integrated RMC I talked about, who will provide those consultants who will do the hand-holding. And in the meantime, I can also see on my benefits, and I can start to get progress in that. And one of the things we got a lot of frustration from is the whole concept of needs assessment. Right? Needs assessment, we've all been there, we've all seen that. There is a lot of information that needs to be provided, and often the same information is provided over and over again. The classic example is sharing the date of birth 15 times in one relocation. But surely someone should know it by now. So what we do is, behind the scene, we take all the different services needs assessment and we combine them to make sure we never ask for the information. Right? So we capture that data and then distribute it to the vendor in a secure way. So for example, the home search, right, the needs assessment that we received from the DSP had 45 fields that the employee had to fill. And here we've managed to shorten it to 6, right? So from 45 fields to 6 fields. And those kind of things are just saving time and giving the additional information and additional benefits. But it's not just the process of providing that information. It's also the ability to see what are those benefits, kind of seeing a policy brief if I want to do it whenever I want to see it, not just when, as Taly said, maybe when my consultant is not available now. I just want to get that information, so I have it here. And what I can also do is see the status with each of these vendors, right? So let's say, what's the status of my immigration application? Just like the pizza delivery experience on each of the vendors, I can see what's going on at any given time, and of course give access also to my PA or executive assistant or anyone else who I need to help me in that process. The idea is not to replace the hand-holding. The idea is to augment that, to provide the choice, to provide the information, and make that available. So if the executive wants to go and be more hands-on, and we see people who are extremely, hands-on, and they just want to get it done, right? So if they want to get it done and they just want to get some temp housing, it doesn't make sense that they need to go and send the requirement and wait for a PDF. And by the time they go into review that PDF, the information is not going to be available and not going to be relevant anymore. Instead, what we do is we work with Alta Vita, our partners, and I can see here immediately which properties are available for me. I can see those that are perhaps high-end or those that are within my policy. This is just around where I am now in the Fifth Avenue in New York, and I can choose that and just go ahead and book those online, just like we would book anything else, right? Whether it's a hotel or any other type of stay. So the idea is to provide those options, to provide the ability to be proactive and make decisions from the employee point of view. But the real value is not coming from only from here. There is a huge value add from the data. So maybe let's talk a little bit about how data can transform the role of a mobility manager, and then look into a few examples how we deliver that.
Okay, so we'll stop screen sharing. I want to look at it from, you've talked about it from the employee's point of view, and clearly you can work hand in white glove with the RMC to provide that extra level of service, so they can have the personal concierge service when they want, and they can have the tech solution to, as you said, to augment it. Augmented relocation, I think, is a lovely phrase. But we also need to look at it from the mobility manager's point of view, because as we agreed, and people, as Eric said, and a lot of people commented very much, that they agreed that a VIP is somebody who can get you fired. A VIP is someone who's if it goes wrong, it's career threatening for you. So those sorts of people, you need to know, as a mobility manager, you need to know what is happening, maybe even before they know what's happening. So Eric, maybe talk us through some of your experiences of the sort of data and information you would want to get for a VIP move, one of those really nervy moves that, that you're worried to make sure everything is 100% perfect.
Well, I think the overriding thing to understand is that with one of these guys, you need to be on top of everything. It's not what type of data, it's all the data. I need to constantly have real-time information as to how this move is going. Because at the very top level, whether it's a new hire at the C-level, or whether or not we're transferring someone to be head over a geographic region, a new head over Europe, for example, these guys are looked at as, very critical, and they've been, recruited or talked into taking these new roles. And basically they've been said, whatever we need to do to get you there is what we're going to do. That at least was the culture at eBay. And it was my role to make sure that it happened okay, and that there were no surprises. So that was, one the big key, no surprises. Watching the customer experience, the VIP experience was the key. It had to be a good experience. In order to do that, I had to know what was going on. I had to know where their immigration status was. Was there any delays? Was, timing was, critical always to know what the timing is. And it would be very common for me, for example, to walk down a hall and for one of the management to see me and stop me and just say, hey, by the way, how is Steve's relocation going? And then to be peppered with questions. And I had to know what was going on. Or in another situation, Steve had talked to the hiring manager or talked to the CEO and made some kind of comment about the relocation that I was not aware of. That would be the worst case scenario, where then management would come to me and say, hey, how come we're having a trouble with Steve's rental car? Or how come we're having a trouble with Steve's visa?
Because an unhappy relocatee may not actually tell you they're unhappy. They may tell your boss that they're unhappy.
Exactly right. I mean, not to disparage people, but the passive aggressive martyr is not uncommon. Where this is really tough on me, but I'm willing to take it for the team. To you, they're going, everything's fine, but they've got this posture. So you need to know that everything's fine, and that means you need to. For us, it meant, okay, not only did I need to have a tool that I could work with, that I could go to see the data myself. The problem there was that the data was usually late. It was not real time. There was a lag. I needed it instantaneously, sort of, real time. I needed to know what was going on today, not, how was things last week when we checked in. The other thing was I needed to coordinate with my vendors in real time. I needed to know from the immigration, from the tax, from the RMC, from the van line, where are we? And so for that meant I had to schedule an integrated phone call once a week, twice a week, as well as instill in them an understanding that if anything goes on, if anything out of the ordinary is going on, you have to proactively contact me immediately. Don't try to cover it up. Don't try to fix it on your own. If anything's going wrong, I need to know, and then we can determine what to do. So that was kind of the pressure that we were under. All the vendors have to play well. I used to use this phrase. I say, look, all you guys, we need to play well in the sandbox together. I'm not interested in, the competition or the posturing. We need to get through this thing alive together.
Okay, let's get into that a bit, and I want to bring Nitsan back to talk a bit more about the technology. There's a comment here, actually, maybe this is a good segue. There's a comment here from Merrily. I'll just put that up. The issue is many platforms, including RMCs, have the limited secure one sign-in required by companies. This often limits the access to the VIP's spouse or executive assistant's access as applicable, e.g. expense reports, etc. This for sure frustrates VIP. There has to be vetted and secured flexibility for choice of delegation, as Nitsan is describing. So maybe Nitsan pick up on that, but also let's move forward and let's look at this now from the global mobility manager's point of view and just show what predictive analytics and data can do to ensure that we are protecting ourselves when it comes to looking after those very dangerous from a career point of view, VIPs.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we've done is we got to spend some time with Eric and really learn his blueprint of how to manage a VIP move, this spreadsheet that you've talked with us about, and how to get everyone play nicely in the sandbox. And we said, all right, that's amazing. And just being able to touch on that from a different angle, to be at BAM with Eric a few months ago and be able to see everyone there coming and saying, oh, you've made such a big impact on my career. And what we wanted to take is to take that wisdom, that experience, and see how do we scale it? How do we use data for that to be kind of the default, and how do we give others those tools to be able to use that in order to manage their VIP experience and keep their job, right? Or actually not just keep the job, get their next promotion. That's the approach we've put. So let's look a little bit on the usage of data there in order to deliver that. So I'll switch now. Before we were looking on the employee platform now, and just let me know when you see that, we can see the platform for the mobility manager. Is that showing now on the screen?
Yeah, that's live.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. So I can go and I can immediately look on all my relocating employees and be able to filter my VIP, right? I see here the VIP on the top and see what's going on with my VIP, right? As Eric said, right? Sometimes the challenge is getting the data, getting the updates. We automate that. We make sure the information is up to date, and I can see at every given moment on each of their assignments or past assignments, what's going on, whether it's their key data or status of delivery with each of these vendors, right? So I have one dashboard that is live information. What's the status with each of these vendors? What's the latest update? What's the next step? And just give me this one overview. We'll talk in a minute about how those smart notifications can help me make sure I'm even a level above that. But just to give kind of an introduction, I can see here everything that has happened, as well as all the costs associated with that move, all the documents, just to be able to manage that with all the expenses, etc., and anything else in a single place. Next, I can go and see, all right, what the data can do for me. And we will look at three layers of what the data can do for me. One is going to be around alerts and notification, keeping me up to date with the process. The second is managing what's happening with my vendors, with the delivery of those services. And I'm talking not just about the real vendors, but also about, of course, the tax and immigration, as some people wrote in the comments. Sometimes this is the most important bit in a VIP move. And finally, we're also going to look at some of the cost data, right? How do we reconcile that cost of the move so we can use data to compare that to the cost estimate? So let's start with some of those alerts. We have customizable dashboards that can help me when anything is happening not by the plan, whether it's a document that I need or something else that I need to happen, and I can have a dedicated dashboard for my VIPs that will tell me what's happening, what are the alerts, which, if they didn't submit their tax return yet, or if they need to do, if their visa is about to expire, so I can plan ahead and I can be proactive without the need to check every time what's happening. I actually have the system doing that for me and raising for me notifications and alerts to know that what do we need to do in the delivery of that service. The next thing is around managing the timelines of that move and basically looking what are the different steps that needs to happen and then making sure that we are on track, right? The time estimates for each of them, and then being able to track that and see in real time what is going on there. Is each step working as it should be, or is it taking a bit longer than we thought, and be able for the data to flag it for me, right? So as Eric said before, one of the challenges is that I have to be on top of things. I have to talk every week to have a call with my vendors to get the updates. We turn that around. The information is always available in real time, and the platform does that tracking to make sure that then that move is working according to our defined milestones, and then raise an alert for us in case of deviation from those milestones, so we can identify that in real time. And because all the communication goes through Benivo platform, we also track the average response time of the vendors, so we can see how long it takes them to respond to our VIPs. And we can see if they dropped the ball and didn't respond to our message, we get an alert as well, so we can make sure that that doesn't happen. They get an alert as well. But of course, we as the mobility managers can do that. And I think that helps to solve one of those challenges of, Eric, what you've told us is about who said what, right? Oh, they didn't reply to me, they did. We actually have data that support the arguments and being able to do that. And one of the points that this also open up, and I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about, is data security. The more senior the employees, the more they care about their data and about how it's being handled. I've met yesterday for lunch a very senior executive, not in the mobility space, that is managing in a big tech company, an organization of 5,000 people. And this is how much they care about their security. He never pays anything with a credit card. It's all virtual cards that he generates every time for every payment. Nowhere he has a fake address that he holds that then redirect to his real home address. He has he said a tool that helps him manage more than 1,000 different email addresses, so he doesn't need to share his real email address. Why am I saying all of that? Because what he told me is that I have this amazing system that protects my data and my personal information everywhere, except when I relocated. When I relocated, suddenly all my data was exposed to everyone. And that's got a lot of frustration and a lot of stress. And that is part of our really innovative solution that we introduced in January to protect the employee data and make sure that their real contact details are not shared with the downstream vendors. Right? So we use that technology to anonymize the data, to protect the information, and reduce the risk of a data breach compared with the traditional RMC model by 97%. And when we talk about what will get us fired, well, definitely having a conversation with a VIP saying, oh, sorry, all your belongings and the video survey and everything you own is now available on the darknet due to a data breach of one of our small downstream vendors. That's not a conversation that any of us would like to have. So another area of how technology can augment that mobility experience is also about data privacy. The last bit I want to talk is a little bit about the management of the cost of the data around that, and we also consolidate all the expenses from the different budgets, from the different vendors, into a single dashboard, right? That allows us to manage closely the cost of that move. How does it meet the budget that we define in real time? I can identify any amounts that are above what was approved or below, and kind of see what's my flexibility with the budget, and make sure the accuracy of this cost estimate is actually managed in real time, as well as future cost estimates are based on real costs, not just on what were the estimates.
Okay, so thank you so much for that, Nitsan. We're pretty much out of time. Just a few comments, just to remind everybody that that if you're in New York, the FEM event is tomorrow, and Nitsan and the team will be there. I'm also speaking at an event in London, which is the Alta Vita event, where a number of people in the industry, including Karen O'Brien, Louise Warby, Tracy Filiola, Yuki Watanabe, and others that you may know, are also going to be speaking. I'm also co-hosting with Ben Cross, and it's from a personal point of view, we do something similar on LinkedIn, and it'll actually be the first time I think we've been on stage. Well, I know it's the first time we'll have been on stage together. So if you're in London and you'd like to come along, then message me. So we've got lots of stuff going on over the next few weeks. VIPs, such an important subject. I'm going to bring on now our guests. I've got Manon and I've got Julia. I think Michelle Durkin had to drop. So from everybody who's taken part in the show today, many, many thanks for taking part. For everybody who's been out in the audience, many, many thanks. And as Tara Hagen says, it's Star Wars days, isn't it? May the 4th be with you. So happy Star Wars Day, everybody. And we'll see you all again next week when we've got a superb show when we're going to be talking about the mega program at Siemens. As I said, they move some 300,000 people a year, which is just extraordinary. So do join us for that fantastic show next week. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. See you all next week. Take care, everybody.